WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 110 of the WrestleBread podcast. So I know I've been gone for quite some time. If you have listened to the past couple of episodes for like the longest of time, I have had so much trouble with my technology. I had a computer, and the computer completely died on me. Couldn't get it fixed. So I was operating on tablets and phone, and then I eventually was working on a laptop, and then the laptop wasn't really working. And so I figured if I'm going to do something, I got to do it right. And so I got me a sweet new computer. It's a gaming computer because your girl's a gamer. At first I was going to get a computer, and I'll be like, okay, a regular old computer, something like that. But I am a gamer, and I used to play computer games back in the day. And so I figured, just in case, it hits me to suddenly want to play a computer game, I don't have to, worry about graphics or anything like that. So I got a really good computer, first off. New monitor. And now your girl is back. And as I was about to record, because I did put out an announcement that I was going to put out an episode, unfortunately, there was a death in my extended family, a very sudden death. So I also took that time off to mourn. And now we got Backlash and everything. And I felt as though it's the right time to come back and, connect to you guys. It's been a lot that has happened this week. We had Backlash. We had a lot of Twitter discussions of, zombies versus The Fiend versus The Undertaker, which I'll get into later. And a lot of new news releases that was going on. We got new champs. It's like I've done come out from under a rock because I haven't really been watching a lot of wrestling. I almost forgot it was a pay-per-view until I had saw it on Twitter, actually. So I decided I haven't really watched too much of wrestling this week. I did catch the pay-per-view. I caught a little bit of Raw here and there, NXT, and a little bit of AEW as well. But let's get into all these news and rumors that's going on. First of all, let's start off with the elephant in the room. There has been several releases from NXT. First of all, the one that was actually announced today was that Velveteen Dream was released, which really isn't that big of a surprise. He hasn't been seen on TV since he was accused of, him talking to the minor and everything came out. Alexander Wolf was also released. Jessamine Duke was released, which I'm slightly surprised, but I'm not so surprised. Her and Marina they were the two weakest out of the four horsewomen as far as wrestling goes. I didn't really watch them in MMA, so I don't really know how they were in MMA, but when they came over to NXT, you could tell that they really needed a lot of work. Jessamine is more seen now on Up, Up, Down, Down YouTube channel, so I'm very interested. I figured maybe she'll still be around for that, but once Ronda Rousey was gone, I kind of figured this whole four horsewomen versus four horsewomen thing can finally die out. Because it really would have been no contest. Because I can see Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, but the other two, they weren't really their wrestling skills really weren't up to the standard to really put on a four horsewomen versus four horsewomen type of feud. Vanessa Bourne, who I was a little surprised about. I liked Vanessa Bourne. I thought she had a very unique look. It was rumored that she was supposed to have been going up to the main roster last year. It didn't happen. And from what I saw on Twitter, she was pretty surprised that she was released as well. Kavita Davi, I hope I'm saying that right. This is someone who WWE had touted as their first female Indian signee when she competed with the Mae Young Classic. She wasn't really seen too much in NXT. And I'm pretty surprised. I kind of figured that they would kind of use her since they're trying to launch, NXT in India, that they would use her more for that. But, I guess they kind of figured to do something else. Skylar's story, she's formerly known as Brandy Lauren and Evolved. And she was Ava's story on Impact, so maybe she'll go back to Impact. Ezra Judge, who was a former pro football player who was signed in 2019, which I do remember hearing about. I don't think he was really used at all. So, kind of a shame there. It was some people who felt as though that he had a lot of potential, but, we never really got to see it. Jay Clemens, who is a referee, was released. And then there was someone else who was released too. Drake, that's right, Drake Rores, if I'm saying his last name right, who it doesn't even matter. Which probably a lot of people have heard about. He was causing a lot of troubles backstage in NXT. There were people who felt uncomfortable being around him. He did a lot of things backstage that drew a lot of heat. So it's really not surprising that he was let go. A lot of people are wondering what took WWE so long to release him. But, it is what it is now. Some other news as well. AEW has made some major moves, I should say. They actually renegotiated their deal with Warner Media, and Dynamite will be shifting from TNT to TBS in 2022. And then they actually is adding a third hour of weekly programming called Rampage, and it's set to debut on Fridays on TNT starting August 13th. And before everybody starts going with this Friday Night Wars, no. They actually made a smart move and decided to put the hour at 10 o'clock. And that will then move to TBS as well. So very smart, because SmackDown is very popular. There is no way that they would have been able to compete with SmackDown. So it's very smart for them to put themselves at the 10 o'clock hour. So after you're done watching SmackDown, you can turn around and watch Rampage. Power to all these people who are, straight AEW devotional people who are set to watch AEW wrestling damn near every night of the week, because they have that YouTube channel, was it Evolution or something like that, on Mondays, which is 2 to 3 hours. Then Tuesdays they have AEW Dark, which is 2 to 3 hours. Then they got Dynamite, which is 2 hours, and then they're gonna have this 1 hour on Friday called Rampage. I'm hoping that my thing is, I hope that they can get their roster together, because what I am seeing now, there are things happening on Evolution and Dark. So from what I feel, that Dark and Evolution is being used to show talent that isn't featured on Dynamite. The problem that I have here is that the records that are happening on on Dark and Evolution is being counted. So you have all these jobbers that are, losing because they have the bigger talent sometimes going over on Dark to, face people. And then they come over to Dynamite where they have this big ass lose record and they have no shot at getting a title, because wins and losses matter in AEW until January 1st, when apparently they wipe the slate clean with the wins and losses, with their rankings or whatever it is. So I'm just hoping that they kind of get it together. They have a lot of people, and I'm hoping that this third hour on Rampage will not turn into, seeing the same people every single week. We see the Young Bucks all the time. We see the Inner Circle all the time. We see Pinnacle all the time. I'm just hoping that we get a slight kind of rotation to kind of see new faces. I understand you want to keep the storylines going, but you make 1 hour of the big storylines or something like that, and kind of put 1 or 2 matches kind of premiering new faces or something. Like, I hope that makes sense. Like, I don't want it to feel, I don't want AEW programming with Dynamite and Rampage to start feeling like Raw, where it's the same people we see every week, you know, and there's nothing kind of fresh. So hopefully with Rampage, they'll take advantage of the fact that it's on Fridays and they're getting the crowd that's coming in from SmackDown, that they will, you know, have something fresh and premiering during that time. But I'm very happy for them that they're getting, instead of doing a third hour of Dynamite, they decided to make it a second show. They decided to make it a second show with just 1 hour. And I'm curious of what they're going to do with this 1 hour. If it's going to be like, are they going more with Dark, or if they're going with Dynamite, where, I don't know. Like, I'm very interested on how they're going to do the booking that happens on Rampage. Is it going to have the major storylines to try to get, you know, eyes going before their pay-per-views? Because apparently Rampage is supposed to debut, if I'm not mistaken, before Full Gear, which is also going to be another piece of news. Oh, no, not Full Gear. Full Gear will be traveling. It's supposed to take place in St. Louis in November, and the plan is to run Rampage in St. Louis the night before as well. So I'm happy for AEW that, you know, they're making moves, and I kind of feel like they are an alternative, or maybe something extra. You know, when you're slightly tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over and over with WWE, that you want something kind of fresh, you turn to AEW. Now, I like both companies. Both companies has their ups and downs, so don't come at me with this whole, oh, AEW's this and boo, WWE. Nope. Both companies has their shit. Both companies have good things. But I am happy that we're getting something else besides WWE all the time. That's where I stand with it. And another thing, can we please stop with the damn ratings? NXT and AEW are now on their own separate nights, and both shows are suffering from viewers. So people need to just calm all the way down with this whole ratings thing. It's over. Both shows are on their own now, and their ratings are going down. So let's just stop. Another piece of news that has come out is that Zelina Vega is apparently coming back to WWE. So, wow, look at egg in a lot of people's faces, I tell you that. Apparently she's coming back to the main roster. There's no word as to when she's coming back, but the fact that she's coming back to WWE, you know, everybody thought she was going to go to AEW or Impact or this, that, and the third. I'm very interested to see, you know, as far as what's going on with her husband. Last time I saw, he was reading bedtime stories. And as far as her former, with Andrade is actually going to be facing Kenny Omega at Triple Mania, and I think it's in July, if I'm not mistaken. And I love Triple Mania. I've been catching them on YouTube because I keep forgetting when it's supposed to come out. And so I've been catching like the past ones on YouTube, and it's so much fun watching Triple Mania. So I can't wait to see that matchup. They've been talking a lot of crap on Twitter, wanting to face each other. So I am happy for Andrade. Let's see. So getting into Backlash. Backlash was good. Of course, there was, you know, it is what it is. But overall, it was a good show. We had Sheamus going against Ricochet in the singles match on the pre-show. I don't know what's going on with Ricochet. I feel like we are at the end of the road as far as it just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like they don't really have that much left to do with him. You see now he's wearing jeans. He was wearing jeans on Raw after Backlash. And, once someone starts wearing not wearing their usual gear, it's either due to two things. Either they forgot their gear one day and WWE kind of figured to just keep it going, or we're just not caring anymore. But this was a non-title match. Sheamus won. This match was only for 7 minutes. I didn't watch it live. I actually caught the end. And then you see Ricochet with the hat and everything. Now he's mimicking Sheamus. And we'll see what comes with that. So to open the show, we had the triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley versus Asuka and Charlotte Flair. And a lot of people was making a point of how Charlotte Flair keeps ending up in these triple threat matches. First of all, Charlotte with the Cruella de Vil gear that she was rocking. Something that I've never seen her really wear before. Like, this is a new Charlotte ever since she came back. Andrade, that woman's in love. That woman is in love. This was a good opening, I have to say. The finish though was a little confusing because Charlotte was on the apron. I think she fell off the apron or something like that, and she could easily have gotten in to break up the pin, but I guess this is where we're going with the whole Charlotte didn't get pinned. And so she's going to go after the title herself. But Rhea Ripley retained her title in the end. And I don't know, I miss my Asuka. But, at least she's getting TV time more than she was when she was the damn champion. This match was lasted for about 16 minutes. And this was a pretty good opening to the show. Then we get to the tag team match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Rey Mysterio and Dominik Mysterio versus the Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. So of course, before the show, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode attacked Dominik Mysterio, and Dominik was injured, and so Rey Mysterio had to come out by himself. I really don't like it when WWE does something like this. I wished we could have just had Dominik Mysterio at 100%. Give the kid, his chance. He's been getting his ass kicked since he came onto the main roster. And I just wish, he's Rey Mysterio's kid. He should, he has potential. But I'm just hoping that they can stop, showing that he constantly gets his ass kicked. And just suddenly, just at least be good. At least have him wrestle the whole match. We all knew what was going to happen. He was going to come down, oh, I'm hurt, but I'm going to pull through and everything. It was a good match once Dominik came in. I just didn't like the fact that we had to go through the whole, oh, he's injured, he can't really wrestle, and here he comes in the middle of the match. I wish they would have, done this from the get-go of have Dominik 100% and just have him and his dad come in and kick ass. Now, of course, Rey Mysterio is, one of the all-time GOATs. He definitely carried the match as good as he could. Then Dominik comes in. I'm very happy that Dominik and Rey Mysterio won the tag team titles. They said that they're the first father and son to win a tag team championship, and I have a feeling that is wrong. I have a feeling that if we look really deeply, back in the day, I feel like there is a father and son that won a tag team championship. I can't think off the top of my head, but if you know the answer, definitely tweet at me at WrestleBread on Twitter if you have that answer. But I feel like there's been a father and son duo before that won tag team championship. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, they are the first ones. It was a very bittersweet moment, Dominik hitting the frog splash And as soon as he hit the frog splash, I'm like, oh, that is tribute to his real father, Eddie Guerrero. Of course, everyone, if you remember the storyline from way back when Dominik was just a little kid, with the whole paternity feud storyline that happened between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. But I'm happy for Rey Mysterio and Dominik that they won the tag team championship. I'm hoping that they would do more with them, that they're not going to have, Dominik as this like weakling that they love to do, that he constantly gets his ass kicked and then Rey Mysterio has to go in and save the day. I wish they would, have Dominik show more confidence in himself. But I'm happy for them. This was a pretty good match once things got going, and I'm happy that, the father and son got the tag team titles. Hopefully they'll do a lot more now that they're the champions, and we'll get a lot more tag team action on SmackDown. And then comes the match that brought the whole pay-per-view down. And I'm going to take a while to talk about this because this match created a whole debate on Twitter. So when Backlash started, but first of all, Batista tweeted out that he will not be at Backlash, but his friends will. And the thought did hit my head. I'm like, I know they're not going to bring zombies onto this pay-per-view. I could see for like Raw or something like that, we're doing the whole zombie thing. But then we got the opening and it's Batista talking and stuff, and and then it's like, be sure to watch Army of the Dead featuring Batista coming out on Netflix this Friday. And then we get the backstage segment. John Morrison goes to talk to the Lumberjacks. He opens the door, and it's zombies. Which, first of all, if I remember correctly from the trailer, these are not the same zombies that you see in the movie. Because the zombies that are in the movie were a lot smarter. They ran, and all this other stuff. These were like the Walking Dead type of zombies that were just slow. But they were smart zombies because I'll get to that point in a moment. So then John Morrison leaves out and he tries to tell The Miz that the Lumberjacks were actually zombies. So then we get to the match. The Miz and John Morrison comes out and Damian Priest comes out as well. And then that's when the zombies come out and they start crawling around. And the Thunderdome, then to the background, turns to like woods or whatever it was. And then we had the zombies as the Lumberjacks. And I had an issue with it. Yep. I'm taking the side of I had an issue with the zombies. Because let's dissect what happened in this match. So the zombies are the Lumberjacks. They're zombies. Normally zombies want to eat people. They have a hunger for human flesh. These zombies knew the rules, first of all, of the Lumberjack match, that they stayed outside and they knew not to attack Damian Priest, John Morrison, or The Miz until they came out of the ring and until the match was over. Then they went inside the ring. See, the thing is that now we have to continue the storyline because, of course, we knew that either The Miz or John Morrison will be attacked by said zombies. And according to the rule book of zombies, which everyone knows of from, 10 seasons of The Walking Dead, a lot of movies about zombies, everything you can read in the encyclopedia of zombies, that when you get bit by a zombie, you eventually turn into a zombie. And so I was very curious that if you're going to do this one-off thing, you got to kind of find the rules. So we see John Morrison gets taken down by zombies, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens from this. We knew Damian Priest wasn't going to get bit or anything like that. And then after a while, The Miz and Damian Priest had to fight off the zombies, and then we get towards the end of the match. Damian Priest, of course, defeats The Miz, and then the zombies get into the ring and starts eating The Miz alive. Damian Priest then does his arrow shot to the LED board above the ring, and it says Army of the Dead. So this match was brought to you by Army of the Dead, starring Dave Bautista, featuring this Friday on Netflix. Check it out. I mean, it's pretty much what they had to say. You know? Now, apparently The Miz has suffered an injury. He suffered a torn ACL, if I remember correctly. The Miz, I think this is the first time that he got a major injury, which speaks a lot to The Miz work ethic in the ring. And so I hope he has a very, speedy recovery. He comes back 100%. So this is my issue. My issue is the Zombies had nothing to do with the feud between Damian Priest and The Miz. WWE saw the opportunity to try to, make money or do something or get their name out there by using Dave Bautista, which I don't think they did this when Dave Bautista was in Guardians of the Galaxy. But, the fact that we got a Netflix movie with him starring in it, it's like all, let's use this. So I had an issue because the Zombies made no sense. It didn't do anything with the storyline between Damian Priest and The Miz and John Morrison. We saw John Morrison turn up just fine on Raw. Curious of what's going to happen to The Miz. So, of course, he's injured, so he'll come back, months later completely fine as if this match didn't happen. I have an issue when WWE does these one-off things that does nothing for a storyline. So because of this, there were a lot of people who were upset about Zombies. And then there was this whole debate about The Fiend. Well, if you don't like the Zombies, you have an issue with The Fiend. Which I had an issue with The Fiend once The Fiend got burnt alive. Because I had no idea what they're going to do about it. How they're going to keep this going. The fact that he's burnt alive. Now, The Fiend is completely different from a zombie, because first of all, it's not a one-off thing, and it's a character, and it's an actual storyline. And then, of course, then people went to The Undertaker. Well, The Undertaker is an undead wizard, and he shoots lightning and all this other stuff. And to that I say, and I will boldly say this, first of all, The Undertaker is liked today because a lot of fans today grew up with The Undertaker. That's the only reason why he is popular today. Is because of the past 30 years that he had wrestled. I would say his popularity lasts him up to the Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Now, the match with him and AJ Styles was really good, a great way for him to go out. But his stock went down tremendously after that because of all the injuries and things like that. And then his performance suffered. The Undertaker is popular in 2021 because of he's nostalgia. He's childhood. He's everyone's childhood. There's a lot of gimmicks from way back in the day that will not work today. Hulk Hogan will not work today. Hulk Hogan's popular today because of the nostalgia from all the older wrestling fans. But a lot of the gimmicks from the 80s, 90s, maybe even slight early 2000s will not work today. The Hurricane would not work today. Fans of today, they want authentic characters that you can relate to. That's why with Roman Reigns, when they was trying to do this whole underdog gimmick with him, like they did with Daniel Bryan, it didn't work because Roman Reigns does not have the look of an underdog. The man's 7 feet tall with perfect hair and perfect skin, and he has a very nice build. That doesn't scream underdog. That screams dominance. The tribal chief, it fits him perfectly. Someone who, has to carry the weight on their shoulders, take care of their family, doesn't, take any bullshit. That's more realistic. Someone like Stone Cold worked so well because it was authentic. Everyone has a boss that they don't like and wish that they can stun her and put middle fingers up and curse out and things like that. And I will say this boldly. If The Undertaker debuted it today, it will not work. The Fiend is popular today because of Bray Wyatt and the following that people have for Bray Wyatt since he had the Wyatt family. That's why Bray Wyatt and the Fiend works, because people have this want for Bray Wyatt to do well, and they like Bray Wyatt because of his gimmicks. I mean, the promos and things like that. He's a really good talker, and so that's why the Fiend is popular. And like I said, The Undertaker wouldn't work today. Sorry, I'm an Undertaker fan, and that's me saying that. If The Undertaker debuted it today and I didn't have the nostalgia of The Undertaker, I would hate his guts. I would say, what the hell is this? This is childish. Everyone knows that he's not real, this, that, and the third. As far as with The Fiend, I like The Fiend. I like The Fiend because I like Bray Wyatt, and I want Bray Wyatt to be successful, and I felt as though The Fiend is a very unique gimmick, and it brings ties back to The Undertaker. I didn't like the Zombies because it didn't do anything for Damian Priest, The Miz, or John Morrison. It felt dumb. Okay, it was only done just to promote a movie that WWE has nothing to do with, except for the fact that the guy who stars in it used to work for them. That's the only thing. That's the only reason why the Zombies are there. WWE's not going to be talking about, Zombies next week or anything like that. I didn't like the fact that this was done during a pay-per-view. Like, yes, we only paid $6 for this, but can you imagine if WWE did this went back when the pay-per-views were costing $50? Can you imagine AEW had done this? First of all, there'll be people that'll think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread if AEW done it. But I would still have an issue with it because I'm like, this does nothing for the wrestlers that's in it. Nothing at all. That's my take on this whole thing. And so yes, I'm on the side of, yes, the zombie thing was dumb. It did nothing for the storyline. It did nothing for the wrestlers. It was basically used just to put over someone who doesn't even work there anymore. That's like giving someone who left your that's like you working. You're trying to work your ass off. You're trying to, get recognition, get a raise or something like that. And then your boss gives Employee of the Month to someone who left the company 10 years ago. That's exactly what happened. And like I said, The Undertaker is popular today because of the nostalgia from all the older wrestling fans. All of us remembering everything that he has done in our childhood. That's why he is popular. Same reason why Hulk Hogan is popular with people, because of that nostalgia with a lot of people. That's why when Hacksaw Jim Duggan or any of the other legends from way back in the day, those gimmicks will not work today. Can you imagine Hacksaw Jim Duggan debuting in WWE today with that gimmick? It wouldn't work. Hulk Hogan, it wouldn't work. Okay? Look at John Cena. All right, it didn't work. And like I said, had The Undertaker had debuted today, we never had The Undertaker gimmick. It wouldn't work at all. So people can just stop with this whole Undertaker versus zombie thing. The Undertaker is just nostalgia. That's why he's popular today. It's basically nostalgia. And fans today, they just want something authentic. They want something to be able to relate to. That's why we got Sasha Banks. That's why we got Bianca Belair. That's why we have a lot of the wrestlers that we have today versus people with these over-the-top gimmicks and something that you will never experience or never see or relate to or anything like that. And on top of that, there's now Twitter. There's social media. There is no such thing as really keeping with a true gimmick. You can't have... The Ultimate Warrior will never work today because Ultimate Warrior would have a Twitter account, which is why The Undertaker doesn't have a Twitter account, and that's why he wouldn't work today. all the wrestlers today have Twitter accounts. We see on their Instagram their fluffy dog, and them suffering from mental illness and finding out their favorite food and stuff like that. Kayfabe, basically. Kayfabe is dead, and that's why the Undertaker, and that's why these type of things doesn't work. The Undertaker and with zombies and stuff like that. So let me know if you agree with me. If not, I'm open to discussion. I'm not one of those type of people that will curse you out because you have a different opinion of me. But I would like to know if you are on the, you shouldn't like Undertaker and this, that, and stuff. Or if you like the zombie thing, let me know how you feel about that. Because like I said, I didn't see really a need for it, especially on a pay-per-view. I can see if it was on Raw. I can even see if it was on SmackDown because it comes out on Friday. But not really for a pay-per-view. I always feel like pay-per-views really should be reserved to have that big type of feel. Especially if you're going to call this WrestleMania Backlash. Obviously, you want this to kind of be something, But it is what it is. But I felt as though this kind of really dragged down the pay-per-view. But then we're on the up and up after that, because next for the Women's SmackDown Championship, we have Bianca Belair versus Bayley. And they got Bianca Belair, they got her Titantron correct. The EST of WWE instead of WrestleMania where they had EST of NXT. This was a pretty good match. Bianca Belair is, we said it so many times of her potential and how good she would be. And for her to go up against Bayley and put on a pretty good match, their match lasted for 16 minutes. And this was a good match. Like I said, Bianca Belair, of course, retained. Curious to know what they're going to do with her from here on out. We'll see the Fallout show on Friday of, who Bianca Belair will go against next. If, it's going to be a repeat of her versus Sasha, or she's going to move on to somebody else. I believe Sasha might be recording. I think she will more likely be in season 3 of The Mandalorian. So I figured, I don't think we've seen her since WrestleMania. She's probably over filming for the season 3 of the show. Then was she seen? I don't know. I haven't seen SmackDown the past couple of weeks like that, so if she was on SmackDown recently, then I take that back. So after that, we had the triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre. I'm going to be 100% honest. I kind of checked out on this match because it's not that exciting for me. Probably, I haven't been that excited for Bobby Lashley lately because of the whole breaking up the Hurt Business. I was more excited for Bobby Lashley when they had the Hurt Business together and everything like that, and Bobby Lashley wasn't doing the whole I'm a heel and I'm gonna do the heel thing type of situation. Braun Strowman does nothing for me, truthfully, especially with the whole choo-choo train that they love to do with him. And Drew McIntyre, I don't know, I feel bad for him because he was the quarantine champ. He never got his time to shine in front of fans. And I don't know if it's because, the fans aren't there. He was very exciting, on his way to get the title. And I feel like that's such a problem. I've come to realize that it's such a problem that I noticed with some people, in WWE. They're very exciting when they go after the title, but once they get the title, it feels like the booking kind of gets stale. We've seen it with Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston it was so exciting when he was going after the title. And then once he gets the title, it was just like they had nothing really for him to do. With Drew McIntyre, it was so exciting getting the title. And then once he got the title, it's kind of the exciting feuds weren't there. And I even felt it with Becky Lynch, to be 100% honest. She was so exciting when she was going after the title. And then once she gets the title, it's just just kind of going through kind of like going through the motions almost. And I feel that way with Bobby Lashley. Like, he was exciting when he was going after the title. And I feel like because they broke up the Hurt Business, and then, you know, they wanted him, like, WWE has this thing with heels and faces, so they wanted Bobby Lashley to be a heel, but, you know, with everyone loving the Hurt Business, they had to break up the Hurt Business completely. And then they got Bobby Lashley doing like heelish things, and it kind of like turns you off from it, because it's just like WWE has this thing where they really want you to cheer for certain people and boo for some certain people. Like, you can't really have an opinion. You can't really like have an opinion for who you like and not like. And same thing could be said with AJ Styles. AJ Styles is adored whether he is a heel or a face, but WWE has this thing where when he is a heel, he wants you to really boo him, which is crazy. But with this match, you know, I wasn't as excited for this match as I should have been. And it's because just like sometimes WWE, they just really try to put it on you that this is a heel and this is a face type of situation. And then there's Braun Strowman, who's just there. So I wasn't really too excited about this match. Bobby Lashley retained the title. So he put out an open challenge the next day on Raw, which I would say was kind of exciting, because it was like, who's going to do the open challenge? I was hoping it wasn't going to be Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman again. But I'll get to what happened the next night on Raw. But yeah, I was just really checked out for this match. And then we get to the match, Roman Reigns versus Cesaro. First of all, the Tribal Chief. This was a really good match. I'm very happy that Cesaro got his chance to shine. And I knew, we knew that Roman Reigns was going to more likely retain. But they did a pretty good job of making you feel like Cesaro could have won. Praises to Cesaro though. I really hope that he continues with this push that that he's getting. That he continues on. Of course, it seems like he's going to continue feuding with Seth Rollins, but we got a pretty good we're getting little snippets of Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Him talking to Roman Reigns. First of all, snapping at Roman Reigns. And a lot of people realize this is one of the few people that can really talk to Roman Reigns the way that Seth Rollins was talking to him, with Roman Reigns being the Tribal Chief, because, he'll start that talk of, you're disrespecting me, and if you're disrespecting me, you're disrespecting my family, and I can't have you do that. But yeah, they were definitely using the fact that Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins has that brother connection, that they're able to kind of come together and talk to each other without, feeling like the other was being disrespectful. And on top of that, Cesaro lost the match by, he didn't tap. He simply passed out. And so that kind of keeps Cesaro strong on top of that. So very interested to see what happens on SmackDown as to what is coming up with the fallout with the Tribal Chief and Cesaro. I am so hoping that we get Uso versus Uso. If anything, before the Tribal Chief loses his title or they stop the Tribal Chief, with everything in me, I want to see Uso versus Uso so bad, because I know that feud is going to be fire, and not like the other sibling versus sibling feud that we got on the female side with the Bellas. I feel like the feud between Uso versus Uso will be fire. And if it's not, I'm going to be so disappointed, and I'm going to have so much egg on my face. But I feel like that match between them two will be so good, because they're good together, on the same team, but them going against each other, especially if they have the creativity to put on the match that they want to put on, we will be talking about match of the year, feud of the year with these two. But it seems like they're painting it. I'm just hoping that they're not going to do, Jimmy making Jay turn his back on Roman Reigns, because they're definitely planting those seeds. But I'm hoping before they do that, it'll be Uso versus Uso. That's all I'm hoping for. That's really what I want. If you can't tell, that's what I want. That's what I want. So, going into wrestling this week, we had the Fallout show. First of all, can we talk about how she did it? Tamina finally got a title. I just don't understand why we couldn't get this, at WrestleMania when the crowd was for it. I don't understand why we had to get it a whole month later instead of knowing what was coming and just giving it to the crowd. The pop that Tamina would have got had she won the title would have been crazy. So I kind of tuned in a little bit here and there with Raw. I did know that there was an open challenge that Bobby Lashley had gave out, and then Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman tried to answer the open challenge, but of course, they were denied because you just lost. So they were in the back of the line. So, but later on in the night, it was Kofi Kingston who answered the call. And Kofi Kingston definitely put on a good show between him and Bobby Lashley. And now there's a lot of people who was sitting there saying, maybe we'll get Kofi Mania again. But I am happy that, we're kind of getting something different. It kind of reminded me of the open challenge that we got with the U.S. title when, where we didn't know who was coming out, and it kind of gave someone a shot at, somewhat being seen, but it gave us something different than the usual repeated feuds that we tend to get after a pay-per-view. Let me see. There was... What else did I really didn't watch too much else of anything. I did remember seeing Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton. They were challenging each other backstage, and Kofi kind of was like, come on, circa, what was it, 2009? Let's do it again type of situation. And it was a pretty good match, but it was a pretty good match, I have to say. Yeah, that was pretty much all that I saw. I keep seeing that, they're trying to do the RK Bro, which so a lot of people like it. I don't know. I don't know. Like, it feels like there's potential there, but I don't know if it's, I don't know about it. Looks like Alexa Bliss was trying to get into the women's tag team titles, which I don't know how she's going to do that with the doll, unless that's what they're bringing back Zelina Vega for. Zelina Vega is going to be Lily. Oh, I really hope they're not doing that. I kind of feel bad that I kind of put that out there into the universe. But she was interviewing Tamina and Natalya. Tamina definitely was like, yo, get the fuck out of my face. I'm not here for the dumb stuff. But it seems like Alexa Bliss is trying to go after the tag team titles. And I really hope that Tamina and Natalya don't lose the tag team titles to Adal and Alexa Bliss. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was to happen. Going into NXT, I really didn't see too much, I'm sorry to say. Yeah, I really didn't see too much of it. I did see, though, I saw that now Cameron Grimes is beefing with Ted DiBiase, which I don't know. I really enjoy that. First of all, I love Ted DiBiase. I met IRS in person when I went to House of Hardcore, and when they were Money Inc. back in the day, I was such a big fan of them because they were going against the Mega Powers at WrestleMania 9, and I remember like completely rooting for Money Inc. back then. Um, but I'm completely fine with Cameron Grimes and this whole Cameron Grimes versus Ted DiBiase. I think it's pretty fun. So going into AEW Dynamite, they have a pay-per-view coming up, Double or Nothing, next weekend, Memorial Day weekend, which I think it's I was surprised that they didn't put it on for this weekend, but I guess they want to take advantage of the fact that people, you know, aren't going to be really. People will be doing stuff because things are starting to slowly reopen. But they're starting to build up for this pay-per-view. I'm just hoping they're not going to do anything stupid because people are paying $50 for these pay-per-views, so I'm not as forgiving with AEW as I am for WWE, because there's a really big difference of having a $50 pay-per-view event versus a $6 pay-per-view event. I didn't check out too much of AEW Dynamite straight up. I did see parts of Hikaru Shida versus Rebel, not Reba. I keep thinking her name is Reba, which was okay. Britt Baker went and kind of like got it, interfered into the match, and Shida still won the match, but we have the setup for Britt Baker versus Shida. Maybe Britt Baker is going to take the title. Who knows? And then we had the promo from the Inner Circle of the challenge of this Stadium Stampede match at Double or Nothing, which is starting to feel like the new Money in the Bank type of situation going on here. That every year we're gonna get a Stadium Stampede match. Then we had the Young Bucks versus the Varsity Blondes, which was pretty good. I have to say, the Varsity Blondes definitely have gotten a lot better than for what I remember. The crowd was cheering for Pillman Jr., which I'm happy for him. 'Cause I wasn't really the biggest fan of him when I was first seeing him. I don't know. It just felt like I understand he has a deep love for his dad, but I just wanted him to have his own identity instead of him looking and trying to act like his dad, not in a bad way, but for him to kind of be his own identity, even though his name is Brian Pillman Jr., but for him to be his own person versus the son of Brian Pillman Jr., it's Brian Pillman Jr. This was a pretty good match. But like I said, I have this issue with people coming over from Dark or Evolution that they have they have all these losses on these shows, but they go over to Dynamite and kind of carry over these losses. Like, we knew that the Young Bucks was going to retain here, so it wasn't really that big a surprise that they defeated the Varsity Blondes, but the Varsity Blondes still put on a good show. We had Moxley and Eddie Kingston, who came in and attacked the Young Bucks, and then straight up out of a 90s movie stole the sneakers and the socks. And I definitely cracked up at that because I have seen that happen in person, the taking of sneakers and the socks after someone got their ass beat. So, something I didn't get a chance to talk about is the whole Blood and Guts show There was some people who didn't like it, claimed that it set, one side said that it set the wrestling world back 30 years, which is kind of dumb because then said person, company apparently turned around and did the zombie thing, but that's a whole other story. I wasn't really the biggest fan of Blood and Guts because there were a lot of botches, and the botches was pretty distracting to me. And so, you know, it's a Blood and Guts is it's a very unique it's very unique as far as, it is the true rules of war games, and comparing the way that war games look compared to Blood and Guts, the rings look a lot bigger. Maybe it was me. Not There is no separation between the rings like we get in war games versus we get in Blood and Guts. So, with the wrestlers stepping between the ropes into each ring, it was very not really sloppy, but I don't know. It's very awkward, I guess I should say. It was very awkward as far as them stepping between the ropes, because there's really no separation between the rings for you to really kind of have enough room to step out of one ring and go into the other. But there was a lot of botches going on here. I didn't like the finish of the match when they were threatening to throw Chris Jericho off of the cage, and then Sammy Guevara said, "I quit." I wish they could have came up with something different, because he got thrown off the cage anyway. But I wish they could have came up with a different type of finish for them to say, "I quit," instead of using Chris Jericho like that. I don't know. The amount of damage they did to each other in the ring for them to kind of like threaten to throw him off, which I part of me understands that, because it's a big drop. He got thrown off anyway. But I wish they could have came up with something a little different. So we're just like getting together this card for Double or Nothing. We have Kenny Omega versus Pac versus possibly Orange Cassidy for the AEW Championship. We got the Young Bucks versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston for the tag team titles. We got Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle in a Stadium Stampede. If the Inner Circle loses, they must disband. Miro, first of all, wow, Miro, who is now the TNT champion, he is going against Lance Archer, which, chef's kiss, I feel like that's going to be a pretty good match. I'm happy for Miro. Don't know why we didn't get this guy from the get-go, but it is what it is. We all had to start somewhere, okay? But I'm happy for Miro that he gets the TNT championship. Can't wait to see this feud between him and Lance Archer. I wish we could have drawn it out a little bit more. Miro just gets the title, and then immediately here comes Lance Archer, and they don't really have a lot of time to draw out this feud with them, but I'm all for it. We got Sting and Darby Allin versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, which I don't know how Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky became a team, but okay. And I don't know how the Dark Order comes to save Sting and Darby Allin. I missed that memo if that happened on another episode of Dynamite. I'm curious though, because this is happening in front of fans, that we're gonna get Sting in front of fans. No cuts, no edits. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to go. This is the true test of how Sting actually is in the ring. So I can't wait to see that. We got Cody Rhodes, who is going as the American Dream for one night, if I'm not mistaken, against Anthony Ogogo. who says he doesn't like America, this, that, and the third. So now we're getting this type of feud that we always see in WWE, but whatever. We get the dream match: Hangman Page versus Brian Cage, Page versus Cage, and then we get the Casino Battle Royale, which we see all the participants. Of course, there is the Joker, which 9 times out of 10 is going to be someone debuting. So I'm sure everybody's going to get their Vegas bets out there of who the mystery person is going to be. And whoever this mystery person is going to be is the one who's going to win the match, because that seems to be what happens here. Let's see. If this is someone coming from WWE, it would have to be someone who got released back in January or February. So everyone start doing their research, start getting your stuff together, and we'll see what becomes of that. But yeah, I'm also on NXT, I completely forgot about this. We got a new North American champion, Bronson Reed. I'm very happy for him. I almost forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Very happy for the guy. He was emotional when he won the title, and I can't wait to see what is going to happen with him. Because I'm a fan of Bronson Reed. He has very, big guy. He is able to move around the ring. He gives me the Keith Lee vibes, the big guy who definitely knows how to move around the ring. He's not wrestling like he's just a big guy. He just does one move and just kind of, flexes and does monster sounds and stuff like that. So I'm very happy for Bronson Reed. Johnny Gargano is good enough that he doesn't need a title in order to be good. The way his group and everything. So I can't wait to see what happens with that. And we also have Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, who are the champions there, and I'm happy for them as well. Let me see. I didn't get a chance to check out Zoe Stark versus Toni Storm. I completely missed that. But yeah, I'm happy for I'm very happy for Bronson Reed that he won the championship. So I can't wait to see what happens, what happens next. But like I said, Johnny Gargano is good enough that he is able to withstand and be dominant and everything without a title. And I'm sure he's going to go after the title again. I can't, but like I said, I can't wait to see what happened with Bronson Reed. Yeah, we got SmackDown coming up, the fallout of the Tribal Chief and Cesaro with Seth Rollins as well. With the Women's Championship as well, what's going to happen with that. With the Tag Team Championship, we have new champions of what's going to happen with that as well. And then next week, we're going to have the predictions for Double or Nothing and who will be the Joker for the Casino Battle Royale. So that's it for the WrestleBread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Let me give a few shout outs. Shout out to Julian Rob Bates from Wrestling Court Podcast on TurnerMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris from We Talk Next Podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin and Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling as well. And then I like to do these, I like mention a podcast that I'm like currently listening to. Joe Fo in the Ring podcast, he recently did an episode where he interviewed Jazz. Pretty good interview, very good episode. Be sure to check that out as well. Coming up next week, I'm going to be doing predictions for Double or Nothing. I'm also going to be recapping what happens on Raw, what happened with SmackDown this week, and what's happening with NXT as well. And then all the other crazy news and rumors and whatever debates that we all have on Twitter between The Undertaker and Zombies. Be sure to hop on Twitter and follow me at Jaydee Talks. That's JAYDEE Talks, and follow the podcast at WrestleBread as well. Be sure to leave a review. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your stance of the Undertaker versus the Zombie debate that is, like I said, taking over Twitter. We had MVP who also said, why cheer for Undertaker if you don't like the Zombies? And I went through enough of a rant as to why we can root for the Undertaker and not like the whole zombie thing. But thank you so much for listening. I missed you guys. And until next time, guys, peace.